Neighbors say the tall grass can attract pests as well. A West Fargo mom finds a disturbing note on the windshield of her car from a stranger. Andrea, suffice it to say, it is windy out here. Watch this. I am leaning back and this wind is catching me. As well as Grand Forks Sheriff, who is passing me right now, and Grand Forks Fire Department, all were on scene here. I'm just gonna get behind the camera super quickly to show you guys here what we see up ahead of us. There's a grain bin here. This is where they said that they pulled the mail from, and all the officials down here were covered in corn dust. According to recent data from the CDC, about 70% of these deaths occur on home playgrounds, whereas just 30% happen on public playgrounds. Authorities don't have much to add at this time, as it's still under investigation. But the fire department tells us the woman made it clear to them that she had a taser by activating it in their presence. In Fargo, Rose Itzcovitz, Valley News Live. So there was no fear at all, even right when you knew something was wrong?
No. None whatsoever.
It started with an engine failure.
It's like your accelerator pedal on your car. Well, I pushed it forward and there was no response.
Followed by a quick decision. How long was that time period from the moment you realized something was wrong and you crash landed into the cornfields?
15 seconds.
For Detroit Lakes pilot Ted Kibke, who's been flying for nearly 60 years, it all came down to experience.
If this situation would have happened to a young, inexperienced pilot, no, they wouldn't have made it. The pilot managed to crash land deep into this Detroit Lakes cornfield. Once the propeller hit the corn stalks, it caused the plane to flip over. As the airplane was actually going over, I had unstrapped my lap belt and just kind of fell out of the airplane after that. When the aircraft came to a stop, pilots want to get away from that aircraft because the thing that we fear the most is the fire. And the first thing I did was cut my knee on my seat cushion. Then bumping his head on a stabilizer. I think it's rather appealing. Kipke says the key to crash landing safely is not to panic. Airplanes are inherently stable. If you let go of them, they'll fly. The 76-year-old emerged from his amateur-built acro sport to a large greeting party. Everybody in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. The first things they said, "My God, Ted, you got 9 lives." All relieved to see a man walking away alive. The incident's under investigation by the Federal Aviation Administration, as well as the Becker County Sheriff's Office. In Detroit Lakes, Rose Itzcovitz, Valley News Live. Courtney Stanley's kids are headed into 1st and 2nd grades at Osgood Elementary. Google Maps says it's more than a mile walking distance.
They had bus last year, the year before.
But a few days ago, Stanley found out this year they'll have to walk. But they won't be walking alone.
At the school, there was another mom near me who was also told that they're no longer bus eligible. And she works and she has 3 kids and she's doing it on her own and she just broke down.
I can't have a bus because my school is almost right by my home.
It's a long way. How we can cross the street, in the snow time.
It's not like it's a new neighborhood with new paths and sidewalks for the kids to all walk down, surrounded by, residential homes. They're walking on big, long city blocks.
We moved here thinking that I had a bus. My kids can't walk, and she said that they don't advise families to have their kids walk. That's up to the families. But I also told her I can't drive or afford to have a taxi come pick my kids up every day from school.
What's your plan so far?
I don't have one yet.
The school tells me it sent out letters back in November and May, letting parents know there'd be changes. But the letters say nothing about certain areas losing bus routes. In an email, the school says it has utilized 0.9 mile as their walk zone for at least the last 2 decades. There have been no changes to our policies or guidelines for this school year. But even if the policy itself didn't change, the school has. The school chalks up the lost bus routes to the fact Osgood previously taught K through 2nd grade. This year, it goes up to 5th grade.
I told them basically she's going to have a lot of absent days because there's no way for her to get to school.
These parents at least are aware of the changes. Some parents still think they have a bus route and say the school assured them they do. But according to the website, it appears some of them won't. In Fargo, Rose Itzcovitz, Valley News Live. Fargo's been a dumping hub for medical waste across the U.S. for years.
There's only so many incinerators, and we were one of the regional locations, and it was more economical for those facilities from California, Washington, West Coast to send it to Fargo.
4 years ago, during the Ebola outbreak, Fargo was one of just a few places throughout the country where infectious waste could be destroyed. Fargo's Healthcare Environmental Services Incorporated, known as HESI, had an incinerator that could do the job. Now, after failing an emissions test last March, HESI says it shut down its incinerator for good, as it would take up to $1 million to upgrade it.
It really was a business decision. The incinerator is old technology, it's an old piece of equipment.
But a neighboring building manager says the shutdown was long overdue. Lonnie Larson first became a neighbor to the building in 2011.
I was walking the perimeter and noticed a bunch of broken vials full of blood and different medical waste that was in a snowbank that they had pushed off their parking lot onto our property.
When he brought it to Fargo's hazmat facility,
was kindly said to bring it back and be neighborly about it.
The health department said it would monitor the situation.
And that was about the end of the discussion there.
Emails from other neighbors wishing to remain anonymous, saying no action was taken. One neighbor says this has been going on even decades before 2011. But the health department says over the years, if the incinerator failed any tests, it would remedy the situation within the required time. Then in 2014, neighbors began to document dark, thick smoke, saying it caused corrosion to their buildings and even vehicles.
As far as the corrosion, it's hard to discern. You know as well as I do that water in itself can corrode and rust. On the other hand, for me to say it absolutely wasn't anything else, we can't say that.
This email from the health department blames the smoke on the angle of the sun. But judge for yourself. These pictures were taken at night. When I spoke to the health department, they said sometimes there was visible dark smoke, but only for about a minute at a time.
When they, let's say, would lose power, we might get a complaint about that. Let's say somebody was driving by and it was only literally 1 minute of emissions for a whole month.
Finally, in May of 2018, neighbors heard the incinerator was shut down. Neighbors say they're relieved, but they'd still like to know what took so long. So what comes next? Emails from HESI show they had plans to move forward on bringing in a more environmentally friendly way to destroy waste through a company called Monarch Waste Technologies. But HESI tells me that's just one possibility, and they're not in any rush to pick out the new technology since it can ship 80% of its waste to Valley City to be autoclaved. They say the other 20% that can't get shipped out of state. Reporting in the studio, Itzcovitz, Valley News Live.